Maggie's going to have a new owner someday. Stick around to find out who that might be.
Welcome to another episode of Maggie's Makeover. For those of you who are new, this channel seeks to understand if a 65-year-old with modest mechanic skills can actually rebuild his beloved 1972 MGB that hasn't run in over 40 years. In our last episode, mechanic Steve actually showed us how to replace a gas tank on an MGB. In this episode, you're going to meet somebody who's very, very special. You know, when you contemplate a project like this, there are many decisions. One of the first decisions is, are you just going to fix the car up and put it on the road? Or are you going to restore that car all the way down to the nuts and bolts? And if you do that like I am, that car is going to actually outlive you. And so you have to give it some thought as to who that new eventual owner is going to be. You know, when Maggie was in storage many years ago, there was a young girl who used to ride her bicycle with training wheels in the garage when I was out there. And she always used to say to me, "Daddy, when is my car gonna be ready to drive?" So some 25 years later, we're gonna head down to the garage and you're gonna get a chance to meet the eventual owner of Maggie, my daughter, Sarah Sarabian. Hey, thanks, Studio Steve, and welcome back to the garage, everybody. You know, as an MG owner, one of the things that I've noticed is it's just old guys like me who own these cars. And a big challenge for me is, how do I pass this tradition and this automobile onto a younger generation? How do I get them enthused? And that's why today I'm very happy to announce to Maggie's Makeover that I have Sarah Sarabian, who will eventually be Maggie's new owner. Sarah, say hi to Maggie's Makeover fans.
Hi, Maggie's Makeover fans. It's cool to be here. I hear there are a lot of you in lots of different places around the world, which is pretty awesome. I'm really proud of my dad, so it's kind of cool to get to be here and make a memory and have a little archive of it.
Nice. So Sarah, tell the fans of Maggie's Makeover, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, you already know that I'm his daughter. So, yeah, right now I live in Salt Lake City, doing a lot of hiking. I moved out there with my partner and our cat. I'm an actor, so I am not shy of being in front of the camera.
Where's the book?
I don't know, I never touched that thing. And why are you reading The Tempest all the time if you're doing Beckett?
Has anyone been here today? Have the police come by?
Why would the police come? What is
Just
going on?
do as I ask.
And
So you could say it's the first time we've had a real actor in the series.
I don't know about that. He says that, you know, I'm the only real actor, but I mean.
So Sarah, why don't you tell them a little bit about where you went to school?
Yeah, so I went to school in Chicago, Illinois, at DePaul University, the theater school. Pretty cool place. Lots of hardcore training and a little bit of on-camera work towards the end there, so that was really fun. And now I live in Utah. But so it's nice to get to come home and hang out.
Okay. So Sarah, what's your relationship with Maggie? I mean, what's your first memory of Maggie? Let's start with that.
My first memory of Maggie, that's like really hard because, I don't know. I mean, she was in our garage for a very long time. Was she at Nana's house? While I was like alive?
Yes.
So I think then I remember this car, not in our garage, but I remember it at my Nana's house, his mother's house in Chelmsford.
She stayed there for 20 years, in fact.
Okay, so that is correct. So the first time I ever saw this car, it was at my Nana's house. Not at our house, at my Nana's house. And then it got moved to our house and then sat like in that garage for a little bit.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
have you ever, like, have you ever gone for a ride in Maggie? Have you ever heard the car run?
No.
Never run.
No.
You've never heard the engine.
No, I've never ridden in the car. It's never started. It's just been kind of like a background, like inanimate object. I mean, I always thought it was cool. I always heard really good stories about it, like the time that, you know, you and Mom were on a date, and at the time, you know, he was driving her. They weren't like married yet or engaged. You were just like dating.
Yeah, dating.
And like, I guess there was like a hole in the passenger, and she got like splashed on from like the bottom of the car.
There was a leak in the windshield. And
It was the windshield, it wasn't the bottom? Oh, okay.
No, it was a leak in the windshield. And when I would take a left-hand turn, the water would drip on her leg. And that's when she knew it was love at first sight. So you've never driven Maggie?
No, I just know that it means a lot to you, and that you have a lot of like positive like memories, and just positive like memories associated with the car. So it's really cool that she's like gonna get a second chance at running.
Yeah.
So more memories. Yeah. Cool.
So personally for me, I'm like really bad at, as much as I love my cars and they all have their unique sense and feeling to them, and all the cars that I've owned, I've never really named them. And so Maggie never had a name. Who actually named Maggie?
Well, so he asked me what we should name the car, and you said it should be like a British name. And so my partner and I, we love The Crown. I don't know if anybody else loves The Crown, but
Is that a Netflix series?
yeah, it's about Queen Elizabeth and like the royal family. Anyway, so we were just like spitballing, and they said Margaret. Because of like Princess Margaret, the Queen's sister, and that's a great name. And then we
Do you remember what my reaction to that was?
Yeah.
What did I say?
I think you said Mags.
No, I said I'm not naming a car Margaret. I said, but let's think of a different name along the same lines. And you came up with
Maggie.
Maggie.
You call her Mags.
She's the one who named the car Maggie. And you call her what for short?
Mags.
Mags. Come on. What a beautiful name, huh?
Yeah.
And then I extended that to the YouTube series, Maggie's Makeover, right? In the restoration of that. And so that's how that came to be.
I guess so.
All right, so you've never heard Maggie run. You've never driven in her. What do you think it's going to be like when you drive Maggie for the first time?
Oh my God.
Do you know how to drive a standard?
No, you know that. I don't know how to drive a stick shift. You know why though? Because at the time, the car that had the stick shift was his BMW, and I was learning how to drive, and there was no way that you were gonna take me to drive the Beamer, which is fair. I don't blame him. I was a little anxious driving for a minute, but I'm very confident now.
Yeah, so like my dad taught me to drive a standard when I was probably 12 years old.
Not legal.
Yeah, while my older brother was getting guitar lessons, little did he know that started me actually driving the car when he wasn't home on the roads. But you're of legal age now, right? So
yes,
we're gonna have to give you some lessons on how to drive a standard.
At 29, who knows? Maybe I'll learn before 30. We'll find out. It'll be chaotic.
You think it'll be chaotic?
I do.
Maybe start in a parking lot?
I guess so, yeah. But otherwise, I mean, I've also never driven in a convertible. I've never driven a car that's a convertible, which is kind of cool. I think I'll probably feel like I'm in some old movie or something,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very glamorous. So
okay.
I think it'll be a really cool experience to drive it for the first time. Hopefully you'll be there with me. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, because I don't know how to drive it, so I'm screwed if you're not there with me.
So as all of you know, there's different ways to restore an automobile, right? And how thorough you go through it and how much money you put into it. And so one of the first things I did when I went about this restoration process is I wanted to define that level of restoration, and Sarah actually had a lot to do with that because she wasn't interested in the car and she wasn't eventually going to own this car. I probably wouldn't be spending the amount of money that I'm spending on it. Every time I'm on Moss Motors or Rimmers Brothers and I say, should I get this, should I not get this part, all I can think of is you stranded on the highway, and I usually press the button and order the replacement part.
Oh my God.
So once I knew that she had an interest in the car, that sort of laid out the level of restoration. So it was apparent that you did. We had that conversation. So why don't you share with Maggie's fans what that interest is and what plans you might have for Maggie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really gorgeous car. I think even when it was, you know, like covered in dust in our garage for a long time, I always thought it was really cool, and I was just always very intrigued by it. As far as like plans for the car, I mean, we were just talking, like, I think it's the perfect car to have in a film, and I don't know what film that is yet, but I would love to like write something and have her make her debut, her cinematic debut.
So when you think about that, Sean Connery had the Aston Martin, James Bond, Steve McQueen had the green Ford Mustang in Bullet, Sally Fields, Burt Reynolds, they had the Pontiac Firebird and Smokey and the Bandit. So I think it's only natural that you and Maggie star in a movie together.
Yeah, I think it'd be really, really cool. And potentially, maybe, who knows, maybe I might let other people who, they have to prove that they're worthy of, you know, using the car in other films, but I think it would be a great thing for her to kind of live on camera, maybe in, you know, maybe in other things as well. So maybe she could kind of be like a, I don't know, like her own actor in other films. Like, you know, if someone needs a period piece car, I think that could be kind of cool. But it would have to be, you'd have to, you know, I'd need to make sure that it was like protected and all that. But it would be really interesting to see, like, I don't know, like what different stories she can be a part of, in my book anyway. But also, I mean, I think it'd be fun to like, I would never like road trip in it, but taking like fun day trips, like, I don't know, maybe to the beach or something. I'm just imagining.
I can see you with the big sun hat, the top down, driving to the beach.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe down the 101, like maybe one day. We'll see.
Oh, California.
Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but it's a gorgeous car. So I would love to like not only just like drive it personally, but like maybe find other ways for her to, you know, like live on in things that like last longer as well. So
I think those are some great plans. Yeah. And you know, it's gonna be, I think for me, giving the car to you eventually. Of course, I'm gonna drive it for a little while, right?
Yeah,
but eventually giving the car to you, I know it's going to somebody that I know is gonna take care of it,
yeah,
and is gonna respect it. I can also see you being a member of a local MG car club. Right? Those are so cool because you get to meet all these other people that have MGs, and you share stories and you fix things together, and it's a whole social thing. You go on rides together. I could just see you in that world, being the social person that you are.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
All right. So those are some great plans for Maggie.
Thanks, Dad.
So growing up as a little kid, you saw like a lot of cars come through the garage and the driveway at times, right? And you saw I had connection to cars. Why do you think I'm such a car guy, Sarah?
Well, I mean, you're a mechanical engineer.
True.
Yeah. So I think that's where like your interest in mechanical engineering kind of started, was with cars, you know, as a kid, as a teenager. it sounds like your dad just gave you a lot of like taught you how to do some things, or would give you like direction, but then he actually just like let you kind of figure it out, and it was like this thing of exploration and learning, and you know, just something that you took a lot of pride in. Like, I know, and I've seen photos of like some of his older cars. I think we're in one of the earlier episodes, and it just seems like also in that like era, it's just like such a sense of like pride to like work on your car yourself and to drive it out and to, you know, feel like this is mine. Like, I know exactly how it works. I know how to drive it. And like, yeah, I mean, I think in that like 60s, 70s too, like that was, I don't know, it just seems like really more important kind of, I don't know, like, because I feel like a lot of my friends, like, you know, they just like drive a car, like they don't have any like connection or like emotional investment, but they also don't really like care, you know, it's just something that gets them from point A to point B. But I do feel like the cars were kind of cooler back then, so like
and I don't know, I mean, I think each car, there's a certain amount of engineering that goes into that car, and each car has a feel to it and a soul to it, and I have a connection to that, and they're different for every car. And I've owned a lot of cars in my life, and they are like time machines. They take me right back to those times, whether it was the BMW that I owned, whether it was the Mercedes-Benz
that car,
300
wow,
turbo diesel.
I haven't thought about that in a while.
That I owned, right? Or the Dodge Challenger, the muscle car, and now the Corvette.
I mean, you're forgetting my favorite, the red Jeep Cherokee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not like anything crazy, but I loved that car.
That was your high school car.
Well, yeah, before some girl just like tapped it in the parking lot, and then we found out that the rear axle was rusting out. But, you know, that was a sad day.
So why do you think, along those lines, why do you think Maggie's so important to your dad?
Yeah. I think, well, kind of like you're in a new era, right? You are retired and you have more time. He's more time to focus on things that he's really passionate about. And so I think for you, it was like, you know, you were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and, you know, no, there's too much stuff to do, too many errands to run, too many responsibilities, and now you can kind of just really enjoy something that you've put on hold, which is always, you know, exciting. But I think, yeah, I don't know. You've never restored a car before.
No.
This is something new.
I never have, and it's still the question's at stake whether Maggie will be restored or not.
She will be restored. So I think you like the challenge of it being like a restoration. He's always talked about like one day, like I'm gonna like make this. I'm gonna like she'll drive again. Like I'm gonna get it. You know, you've always talked about it. So I think it's a new challenge for you, just with the process. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's, again, like a lot of positive, like cool memories attached to this car. And
yeah, I think for me, when this car fires up and I get to take this car out and drive it, it's going to be a very emotional moment for me.
yeah,
They say you can't go back, right? Backwards in time and relive your life. But I think I can get in this car and sense what that time was like. As I said, these are like, for me, they're like time machines. So to smell the gasoline, the oil, the musty smell of the British car, it's going to evoke memories from my 20s. And I think it's just going to be great if we can get her back together and running again, which you have confidence in me, so I guess we will. So Sarah, you've obviously seen some of the episodes, right, of Maggie's Makeover, right? And you've seen the content. So do you have any advice for dear old dad?
well, I mean, it depends. It depends like what you like want for the show. Something that I'm always like I think is really fun is the edits are always really imaginative and a little kooky, but like I think that it's like, you know, it's your playground, right? You're in the editing room like making things really you know, exciting, but I think yeah, just have fun. Like it's really cool to see you have fun and to relax into like whatever you're explaining or teaching people, because you do like to, you know, educate people and teach people, and I think leaning into that is always good. But
now you're not a big fan of the multiple character Studio Steve, Mechanic Steve dynamic.
I don't think he needs it. You could write in the comments below if you think he needs to do that or not. I'm
what
not
do you
trying
people think about that? Should we kill off Studio Steve and Mechanic Steve and just have like Steve?
only if you have a death scene.
Or should they live on? Should they live on? Tell us what you think about that.
In the comments below.
Yeah.
Drop it.
So, in closing,
Yeah.
any final remarks to Maggie's fans?
Well, thanks for going on this like journey with my dad. It's been really cool to see you guys like interacting with the content and bonding over something, even though you're, you know, not in the same area. You might be in a different place. I don't know if you've started your restoration process yet, or if you're new, or if you just want to learn more about cars. But yeah, I just think it's cool that you're on this ride with him. So stick around. I think it's gonna get more exciting as he gets closer to finishing the restoration.
Yeah, I think so as well. Well, Sarah, on behalf of Maggie's Makeover, thank you for taking the time to stop in here and to sit down and have this interview. I think it fills in some of the pieces and the context behind this car, where it's been, more importantly, where it's eventually going to go.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, thanks, Mechanic Steve. And that's a wrap for this episode of Maggie's Makeover. Hopefully, you thoroughly enjoyed meeting Maggie's eventual new owner to understand her relationship with the car, just how Maggie got her name, but more importantly, the big plans that she has for Maggie when she eventually takes ownership of her. You know, for me personally, this was just a special episode to create. It's not every day you get to share the camera with your daughter, who's the actual actor in the family. You know, it created a memory for me that is gonna last a lifetime. The next step in the process of Maggie's restoration is the actual teardown of her front suspension and steering. Before any wrenches are taken out of the drawer, we have to understand, how do those pieces go together? How do they even function? Stay tuned for our next episode of Maggie's Makeover, where Mechanic Steve takes us through all of that. So until then, from Maggie and I, happy motoring.
I messed up that question. But sorry, you said where did you go to school?
Yeah. Just get in the car. What was it? Have you ever been in this car? No. All right, so you're in the car.
Did I heard something?
What's that?
I just shut the door and I feel like I heard something
No.
fall on the ground.
Someday Maggie's gonna have a new owner. Stick around and find out who that is. Put some pizzazz into it. Okay. Hold on. All right, go ahead.
Maggie's going to have a new owner someday. Stick around to find out who.
Who that is. Try it again. I love the accent. Ready? Take two. I think that's it. I think that's it. I think that's it.